Welcome to our introduction to jQuery. So you're probably wondering, well, why do we need jQuery? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about jQuery. It's the most popular JavaScript library in use today, and it is a JavaScript library, and the reason that we use it is because it's super powerful and it makes just JavaScript easier to implement within our website. So it's installed on over 65% of the top 10 million highest ranked websites. It's free to use. It simplifies JavaScript and makes it easier to make things happen within our web pages. Basically, it interacts a lot with the DOM and the DOM elements, so that's the document object model, and we're going to be covering that in the upcoming lessons as well. So jQuery allows you to create animations, it handles events, and it also allows you to use Ajax really easily. So essentially, jQuery is a powerful dynamic and creates dynamic interactions for web users using jQuery. So although having experience with JavaScript and CSS will help you get started with jQuery quicker, it's not essential because we are going to be going through all of the basics and how to use jQuery and how to connect it with our web pages. Some of the benefits of using jQuery: it's small in size, it loads really quickly, and it's really powerful, allowing you to create those interactions really quickly. It's straightforward, and if you are familiar with CSS, the selectors work in the same way as we're selecting content from our HTML using CSS. So this all works within that same format, so it is familiar if you're familiar with CSS. It's also easy to learn and easy to get started with jQuery, and it's also easy to add to your web projects. There are several ways to add jQuery into your web projects. So one of the ways is to link to a CDN. So there's a number of CDNs online where you can link to the latest jQuery library, or you could also go over to jQuery.com and download the jQuery library, install it on your server, and then just link to that file through your local system or through your related system. There are some benefits to linking to a CDN, and that basically is that if it's cached on from somebody else's website, then it'll allow your website to load it quicker. So that's some of the benefits of using CDNs, and also it's easier to implement. So all you have to do is add in script and link to the source of the library, and that can bring jQuery directly into your web page. And I'm going to show you how to do this in the upcoming lesson. So we're going to be linking to the Google library, the Google jQuery library. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So it's important to understand the way that the DOM works. Essentially, the DOM is what gets built by the browser as it renders out your HTML page. And jQuery is heavily based in what can be done with the DOM and interacting with your HTML page via the DOM. So it's important to understand that the DOM is there, it exists, and this is how jQuery gets a lot of its functionality, by interacting with the DOM. So this is just a definition here of the DOM. So essentially it's document object model, and it works across platforms, browsers render that out, and so on. And it gives the ability for JavaScript and scripting languages to interact with the HTML content. So here's an example of the DOM. So essentially when the web page loads, then we've got a window that loads in. We can see the history, location. So there's a number of different objects that we have access to just in the window alone, and then the document actually sits within the window object, and the document contains all of that HTML structure that is provided within your HTML page. So we see here we've got an example of links, anchors, forms, and so on. And there's a lot of information contained within the DOM. So this is where we get a whole bunch of the content that we're rendering out and utilizing via jQuery and JavaScript as well. So the good thing about Chrome is that it's got a built-in DOM inspector, and we're going to take a look at that in the upcoming lesson as well. And we do have the ability to see some of that information as we look through our Chrome, and also we find out more information about what's contained within the DOM just by going through our Chrome DevTools And one other important thing to note is that we do want the DOM to load before we try to access that web page content, and this again is something that we're going to be covering in the upcoming lesson and how we structure our jQuery. So the next lesson, let's open up our editors and start writing some jQuery.